What's up? I've been meaning to make this video for about a while now, but um, I've debated on doing it and not doing it, and I don't know. I just feel like my story should be told. Probably a lot of people's gonna make fun of me and have their opinions about this, but they can suck a big flat black dick for all I give a fuck. This is the story of me and Nikki Harris. I've dealt with this for about 5 years now, and a lot of people's gonna, bitch and say, "Oh, you got a family now, and you're engaged. You should move on." All this other shit. So, like I said, suck a big black dick. This I'm just putting out there because I should have did it a long time ago. Because I've heard so much different shit in 4 to 5 years, and so many different stories, and I just kept my mouth shut throughout the years. So I'm a little bit dirty. I've been out here cleaning the garage and shit. So, but this is my it's called Through My Eyes because I'm gonna write a book about my life, and a lot of people's probably gonna be like, fuck retard, but I plan on writing a book about my life. So this is gonna be one of the chapters in the book. I'm not gonna get in whole detail, how we met and all that other shit, blah blah. I'm just gonna go to the night before she died. Well, I'm gonna go back a little bit further than that, but we was dating for about 2.5 years. I got a wild hair at my ass, and I wanted to move to Tennessee. I want to make better for myself. I had a job opportunity down there, and she wanted to go with me, and I said no, no, no. So I called it off with her. I broke up with her. Stupidest thing I ever did in my life. Stupid. She was crying uncontrollably, dude, when I left her. And when I look back and turn around and look at her sitting there crying, I knew. It's going to sound stupid, but I knew I was going to regret that for the rest of my life. I had this sinking feeling. But yeah, I still turned around. I went to Tennessee for 2 weeks. I came back, got my stuff, and I was there for a day. One day. And I moved back. I was too homesick, and I thank God I did because it gave me more time with her and Grandma Flo. So, but anyways, we still talked. We still had sex and everything like that. We was broke up, but it's not like I just pushed her out of my life and I didn't talk to her. I didn't hang out with her. So, I come back home. I move back home, and I get this job at this grain elevators. And I'm loving it. I'm working like 12, 14-hour days. I'm loving it. And I'm talking to Nikki about getting back together and everything like that. And the night before, a couple days before, I met up with her and I gave her some money because we was going to go out and have a date night, movies, dinner, the whole 9 yards. And she wanted to keep the money because she thought I was going to spend the money on lottery tickets. So I let her hold on to the money. And the night before she died, I worked 14 hours that day. I mean, I was dog tired, man. I was living with my grandma. And I came home, got in the shower, I laid there in bed, and I just woke up. It was probably about 9 o'clock at night. And I still got all the text messages. And I texted her, I said, listen, I got to talk to you. Where you at? She says, I'm at Family Dollar. I'm about to be home. I said, all right, I'm going to be there in 15 minutes. So I went there, and I met up with her. I said, let's go to your room. I got to talk. She said, okay. Well, I went down there, and, I said, I love you. I think you're the one for me. And so we started crying. We kissed and everything, and she said something that has replayed in my head again and again like a movie. She looked at me and she said, I don't want to die alone. I want to be with you forever. So I kissed her on her forehead, and I told her everything's going to be all right. And I was coming back home, and she texted me. She said, hey, Jake's in town, and do you care if I go hang out with my cousin Asia and Jake? And I said, hey, I don't give a fuck. Do what you want. Well, I go home or I go to bed. And it was Saturday. And it was supposed to rain that Saturday, and if it rained, I didn't have to work in the elevators. And I remember waking up, and it was the sun was just beaming. It was bright, birds was chirping. And I remember I was bitching all the way to work about it being sunny. And the road that Nikki died on was the road I took to get to the grain elevators every fucking day. Every fucking day. And I literally drove past the crash site the morning of on my way to work. And didn't even recognize, didn't even know anything had happened. I literally just missed him cleaning up. Literally. So I get to work. I always got there. I had to be there at 7, but I always got there about a half hour early. So I can get, the trucks that are waiting, get them back in the fields and everything. And my friend Chado called me. And I thought, because I dropped my derby frame off and I paid him, and I thought it was the weekend. I thought he was going to get an early start. I thought he had questions about the frame. And at this point, I still didn't know she was dead. And I says, hey, what's up, fag? And I didn't hear nothing. I said, what's up, dude? He says, you didn't hear what happened? I said, what the fuck you talking about, hear what happened? He says, about Nikki. I said, what the fuck you talking about, dude? He says, bro, she was in an accident and she didn't make it. I hung up the phone. I called him a fucking liar and I hung up the phone. And our mutual friend, Amanda Durbin, was working up front in the office. I ran up front. I just let the fucking binge flow. I ran up front. I didn't have Facebook and all that bullshit back then. And I said, hey, man, you got to get on Facebook. I think something happened to fucking Nikki, man. And, I'm flipping out. I'm calling her back to back to back to back. I'm calling her. No, nothing's answering. Durbin looks down at her phone. Amanda, I call her Durbin. And she looks down at her phone, and her face just gets white. She says, hold on, I got to take this truck. And then all of a sudden, I look down at my phone, and it said that Nikki was calling. And for that few seconds, I thought everything was all right. I thought Chad didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. And it was Nikki's mom and Trish. And she said, Brandon, I have something to tell you. You got to sit down. I lied to her. I told her I was sitting down. I wasn't sitting down. I was standing up, shaking like a leaf on a tree. She says, Nikki passed away in a car wreck last night. She's gone. Our baby girl's gone. Just like that. And I didn't know what to say, so I hung up the phone. And Amanda knew. She done knew. She came over, and I collapsed in her arms crying. And she said, hey, Brandon, I got to get this truck. I pick myself back up. I walk outside. I leave my lunch and all that bullshit. And I walk outside. I get in my truck. And I always thought in situations like that, I would act like an idiot. Act like total Brandon, just flip the fuck out, right? Well, I drive all the way to my mom's house from Jamaica to Hegler. 10 miles an hour. By this point, my phone is blowing the fuck up, dude. Blowing up. Brock Bates calls me, and he's the only number I answered. I don't know why. Everybody and their brother and mother's calling me, and I answered to him. And he said, BMF, we call each other BMF. He says, you hear what happened? I said, I did. He said, that's fucked up. I said, I know, and I hung up on him. I went to my mom's. By this time, it's like 7:30 in the morning. I'm knocking on the door. And my brother Travis lived there at my mom's at the time. And I wake the whole house up, and I collapsed on my mom's arms. I told her what happened. And I'm sitting in the kitchen. And I just had this feeling like I had to go to Nikki's house. I just had to. So I picked myself up. And at this point, I'm driving a little bit more faster. I'm driving a little bit more erratic. I get to her house, man, there must have been 50, 60 people there. And I get out. And everybody's coming up to me, hugging me. And I just walked past them all. I didn't even say nothing to Trish. And I walk inside the house. It was so dead silent, dude. That silence where you hear like noise almost. I know that sounds stupid, but and her room was in the basement. I walked down to the room, and it was just it's just like she left. She had her change of clothes here. She had her stuff ready for this hair school for Monday morning, and I just stood there, and like I said, it was so silent, dude. You know what I mean? There's people outside crying and mourning and stuff, but it was so silent. So I walked back out. Everybody keeps telling me it was on Clinging Lane. The wreck was on Clinging Lane. At this point in time, by the way, I still did not know it was where I drove by every fucking day. So I get in my truck, dude, and I'm flying. And my head, I was so fucked up, I was thinking I can go save her. So I'm driving fucking east to west Clinging Lane, cross the fucking highway 100 different times. I'm fucking in the cornfield looking, dude. I got my fucking hatchet out. I'm fucking looking for inside the corn for skid marks, blood, anything, right? I go all the way back to her house. And I said, Trish, I said, it's not on Clinging Lane. Where the fuck is it at? She says, follow us. She drove out there. And I seen it before I even knew where it was at. And literally, I just drove by it that morning and I didn't know what the fuck had happened. And there were skid marks. There was blood. And Trish was telling me, hey, this is where she passed away. And people kept showing up. So I left. I came back here and told my grandma. And I opened a Mountain Dew and I chugged it. And I know that sounds stupid, but I chugged a Mountain Dew. I couldn't. I was thirsty. I was constantly thirsty. About an hour goes by. I drive back out there. I want to be by her. I just want to be by the blood. I want to be by it all. I go out there, and I stay out there for about 4.5 hours. Just right by the blood pile. I get in my truck to go to leave. And as I'm leaving, I'm heading out. Jake and his dad, Larry, which I'm not talking shit, but they passed me. They was heading back out to the crash site. And when I seen him, now mind you, me and him's been friends. When I seen him, I had every intention to turn around and go beat the fuck out of him. And I turn around, and by the time I get back down there, they're already out of the car. Larry comes up to me, and he's crying, and he's talking to me, but I can't hear him. I know it sounds stupid, but I can't hear Larry, what he's saying. And Jake's picking up beer bottles and beer cans, chucking them back into the cornfield. And he's crying. And every ounce of my being, I wanted to go beat the fuck out. I just wanted to go hit him. I wanted to hurt him. But I was frozen. And like I said, I couldn't hear nothing. I couldn't hear what Larry was telling me. And as Jake is throwing his shit back in the cornfield, in my mind I'm losing it, but my body, I couldn't fucking move. So he says, all of a sudden I heard his voice and he said, come on, Dad, let's go. He gets in the car. Larry's talking to me. He says, you need anything, just get a hold of me, but yada, yada, yada. They get in the car and leave. And I go back down to that spot. I'm sitting there, and my buddy Chad O'Cobble and Eric Wire show up, and they pick me back up, and they says, hey man, you got to get out of here, man. It's not healthy for you to be here. And they said, let's go have a fire or something, And I went, but I went back home, and I cried and cried and cried and cried, man. And it's, something I've dealt with, and a lot of people says, you should move on. You got a family, and it's been almost 5 years, and yada yada yada. I got up the next day. I went to Trish's house, and she had the clothes that Nikki was wearing that day laid out on the floor, and she was trying to figure out like how her body must have hit, and her blood. She had a neon hoodie, and it was soaked in blood. Blood there. And I had every instinct to turn around and walk back out the door, but I stood there and I stared at those clothes. And the smell, I'll never forget the smell ever, as long as I live. And, there's a lot of things that happen that people don't know that happened. And there's a lot of things I dealt with that they don't know that I dealt with, And 6 months later, after I buried her, I came home and I found my grandma passed away. So, there's a lot of things that's happened that people don't know, and there's a lot of shit that people has talking. There's a lot of people that has stucking up for Jake, and there's a lot of things that has happened, and they don't know the truth about certain situations, And it's been almost 5 years, and Jake has reached out to everybody and apologized or did something somehow, some way. But me and him was actually friends. We went to school together. He helped me work on derby cars, and he still to this day has not said one word to me. But I always thought it was strange, and it makes me sick to my stomach that he was pacing back and forth, throwing beer cans, beer bottles back into the cornfield. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of rumors. Like, there was a rumor that me and Trish was having sex, and when I heard that, it physically made me throw up. The reason why I spent so much time over there at her house is because it was comforting to me to be in it. A lot of people, they don't like it. They like to push themselves away. I like to push myself towards it. And, there's many nights where we stay up crying about Nikki and laughing and crying. And then when people started that fucking rumor, that was fucking disgusting, And me and Trish, we bonded and we leaned on each other throughout this tragedy. And I had some things over there and stuff, and I came there one day, and she said, "Hey, you gotta leave." I said, "What the fuck? What for?" She said, "You was looking at porn on Nikki's computer." I said, "Porn?" I said, "What the fuck?" I said, "I wasn't looking at no fucking porn." Well, she kicks me out, and she takes all the stuff that I got Nikki, or I built Nikki, throws it all out in front yard, tells me comes pick this shit up. Just out of nowhere, dude. Just tells me come get all this shit, right? Well, I get all my shit, everything like that. And then I find out she's dating Larry. Well, that's her right and her business. That ain't nobody else's business. Okay. Well, she called me, and she asked me what was my opinion. What do I think about it? And I said what I said. I said I don't think it's right. I think it's kind of weird, but that's my opinion. I never said, hey, Larry's a cocksucker or Larry's a fuck. I never said any of that, right? Well, she went and told Larry. Larry tried to come fight me and all this other bullshit, and so I had to deal with all that. You know what I mean? And she threw me in jail. Said that I stole a street sign, and a bunch of other dumb shit that has happened throughout the years. But I just felt like my side of the story should be told. I'm very proud of myself. I made it through this whole thing without crying. But there's going to be haters that's going to talk shit, but they can suck my fucking dick. But nowadays, I have nothing but respect for Trish and Larry and Brandon and all them. You know what I mean? We don't talk, but it's not like how it used to be. And as far as Jake goes, that's something I'm going to have to deal with one day. And that's between me and him. But I just felt like everybody's like, oh, you guys wasn't fucking dating, what about fucking blah. I heard rumors that, she was sucking Jake's dick when they wrecked and all this other shit. And just a lot of fucked up shit has happened to me, and I had to deal with it without talking to it about anybody, because everybody I started to talk to about this and get answers or get comfort was like, Brandon, you got to move on. You got Casey. You blah blah blah. You got to move on. And so this is the shit I've had to deal with in that situation for almost 5 years. For almost 5 years, she's been gone. Yeah. So then her dad always called me about every 2 weeks. Always called me. He kept wanting me to get me my CDLs. Marcus, her dad. Then he passed away. And what was fucked up is he talked to me for about 2 hours the day before he passed away. So the shit I have had to deal with this situation, people don't even know. And people start rumors and they run their fucking mouths about some shit they don't even know anything about. But it's been long enough, and I wanted to get my side out there. And like I said, it's going to be in my book. Go ahead and make fun of me. Say what you want. But any negative comments, you will be blocked. You will be dealt with later on. But, yeah, I just want to get my situation out there with the Nikki Harris situation. So, yeah. And I'm very proud of myself that I made it through this whole thing without crying. But, 1-4-3. So, but it is what it is. And peace out.